All right. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us today on this particular question and answer webinar. So thank you. No, co-host, sorry, we cannot wait for people. People will join us and they can watch the video absolutely because I wouldn't know how long to wait for. Yes, so we're just going to continue. We said we're going to start at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, we're going to start. And yes, please, co-host, can you type, confirm to me through typing that yes, you can hear me? All right, great. So thank you very much for joining us today on this question and answer webinar, or session that we're going to have today. Just before we get into discussion, a little bit about myself. My name is Dejario, and I'm going to be your host for today. And generally, when it comes to experience, I've been around project management space for quite a while, and I'm a trainer, and I do more than training as well. I'm a practitioner myself. I practice project management and IT service management to the extent of my experience. All right, so in order not to bore you, that is just a little bit about myself, and I'm very sure you can follow me on any of those social media platforms. All right, so how do you get the best out of today's session? Number one, today's session is going to be roughly about 1 hour, and so we may go a little bit over depending on how quickly we can answer those questions and the number of follow-on questions we have. But one thing I will want to tell you is, one, we're going to start with the questions that people had sent in already. So people have sent in quite a number of questions, but that shouldn't stop you from asking your question. So please, if you have any question, please type in the questions in the question session of Zoom, of Zoom platform. But we're not going to answer your questions immediately because we want to do justice to the people who had sent in their questions before today's session. But that doesn't mean that we cannot take new questions. But you have to send them in, and we see whether we can get there today. If not, and if you've not really answered your question in the process of the entire conversation, I'm very sure we will try to call you and answer your question. But please send your questions in, and it's going to be great to see the questions that you may have. So when it comes to video recording, we're recording this session, and we're going to upload the video on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it anytime you want to. We used to send the slides. I just removed it. All you need is the video. So yes, you're going to have the video, but if you want the slide, you can contact us, and we will be happy to send you the slides that we use within this session. All right. So once again, good morning, everyone. So what's our agenda for today? The agenda for today is basically going through all the questions that people have sent in. I've tried to categorize the questions into 10 different key topics. So the first topic is the selection method. So some people are asking about how to even know whether to use Agile or not. And the second question is about what Agile is. So some people just want to know what Agile is all about, and frameworks, and how Agile compare with other methodologies like PMP or Prince2. And some people want to know about the certification or costing, or even industry where Agile can be applied. And some people want to know about organizational implementation, and then there are some general questions there. So quite a number of questions had been sent, or a mix of questions. And what we've done is we copied those questions word for word. So please do not blame us for any for any error there, because we do not want to rejig those questions, so that whoever sent the question can recognize his or our question. So we copied and pasted the questions. We did not change anything in the question. So sometimes you may feel, oh, why didn't you guys just change that? But those are people's questions, so please bear with us. And like I said, if you don't have any other question, you can send those questions in as I talk, but I will need to answer all the questions that have been sent in already before I can answer your question. All right, so thank you. So we're going to start with the first set of questions. So somebody sent in these questions, or some people, two people sent in these questions. So the first person said, how do you decide if Agile is the best methodology for a given project? And another person said, would like to understand Agile methodology and to be able to figure out in what situation will it be best to apply it. You see, so I put these two questions together because they're talking about how to choose methodology. So I'm just going to go through a few slides to explain my answers to these questions. Number one, I want you to know that within an organization, we have people, or any employee basically, raising new ideas or bringing about any change. I say, guys, we need to change that, or we need that, or I feel we can capture this particular opportunity in the market. So needs, ideas, or anything can come from any employee within an organization. But every good organization has a system of filtering out which idea is good and which idea is not. And part of the process of filtering out good or suboptimal idea is to then ask, if the idea is good, then we need to turn it to a project and get it done. Now, when we turn the idea to project, one of the early questions that we need to answer is how. How do we then get the project executed? And this is where methodologies come in and frameworks. How do we get them executed? And you see, we have different types of projects within an organization. So projects come in different sizes and different complexity levels and so on and so forth. But the key thing is, when we answering this question, how do we implement the idea or the opportunity, or how do we solve the problem? You see, we need to check the complexity. And if you have been to our other Agile webinar, I use this particular table as an example. This is an example of project complexity modeling framework that I've seen being used in places where I've worked. So please, this is just an example. This is not this is not a rule. So please take note of that. I'm just giving you an example here as to how organizations select methodologies. So the first thing that we need to be checked, mostly by PMO, and if you do not know what PMO is, it's just the Project Management Office. So the Project Management Office must ensure that all ideas or projects or problems handed to them, they must ensure that they check those ideas or how complex they are. Now, to check the complexity of a particular project or problem or idea, we can use many factors. And like I said, these are just examples. So we can assess an idea's complexity based on the customer impact or risk or internal or external factors and so many other factors that we have there. In fact, here I've got like 12 factors. So for instance, if somebody brings in a particular project, just imagine we have project A. So PMO, together with some other guys, we sit down to assess the complexity of the idea. Number one, that idea called Project A, what's the customer impact? So assess the solution, how the solution will affect customers. So if there is no customer impact, we score that as 0. But if there is a major behavioral change being required from the customer side, then we score that as 40. But this particular project example here scores C, that's 20, so that's 20, meaning minor behavior change from the customer. Then next, we then come to the risk exposure. Okay, so we want to assess the risk exposed to the organization's systems and other processes if errors were found in the solution at the end of the day. You see, so we start to check the impact of that. For this particular project, we score 20 again. That's C, and this one scores 10, this one scores 20, so I'm not going to waste your time on that. And then this one is 10, and this one is 20, and this one is 0, and this one is C, which is 20, and this one is 40, and that one is 0, and that one is 40, and that one is 20. Now, if you add those together, 20 plus 40 plus 40, that's 100, 150, and 150, that's 200, and 220. So this particular project scores 220, for instance. Just hold that thought, okay? Now, there will be many other projects coming from different functions or units or people within the organization. The same thing is going to be done to score them, to understand how complex it will be to implement that particular idea. Then watch it. You see, part of this framework then includes a table like this. It includes a table like this where the organization, please, this is an example again, please, this is not a rule, so please do not take this to your organization to use if you are looking for help as to how to do this within your organization. So please, you can contact us and we will be able to help you, absolutely. But this is just an example. So if any project within this particular organization here scores 0 to 200, we categorize that project as simple. And if a particular project scores between 210 and 350, like the one we just did right now, that's called 220, and now we call that complicated. And if any project scores 360 to 480, we call that complex, and so on and so forth. But the key thing here is we expect your PMO to have a framework for modeling the complexity within projects that may be requested from them, so that will then inform which of those methodologies we actually apply. For instance, in many organizations, when it comes to when it comes to simple and complicated projects, which I'm going to be talking about later, we use waterfall most of the time, and when it comes to complex, we use agile. So agile methodology broadly, I'm not saying only, broadly applies to mostly complex projects. But that question is not very simple to answer, and your organization's PMO must establish framework for actually knowing which project within your organization will require the use of Agile or not. And I'm very sure many of you as well will be aware of this particular framework. Like I said there, we have different types of projects. For instance, we have the obvious. This one is what we call the simple project. That's the simple project. So, and we have complicated, we have complex, and we have chaotic. For instance, let me just give you an example. For instance, when it comes to simple projects are situations where X is equal to Y, and what is X, what is Y, and what is equals. X is the problem. That's the problem that we want to solve, and the Y is the solution to the problem, and equals is that's the means of going from point A to point B. That's from the beginning to the end in implementing that particular solution. So simple project is a situation where we know the problem very well, we know the solution very well, and even how to get the solution implemented, we know that very well as well. So let me give you an example of that. An example can be, say, your organization creates pen every year. So you give pen to your customers every year as as a yearly gift, or you give your customers calendar every year. And you see, that is not BAU, that's still a project, because something is going to change in it. But the key thing here is we know how we create those pens, or we know how we create those calendars, or those diaries or journals that we give out as gift to our customers. Those kind of projects will be quite simple. Why? We've done it again and again and again. So how to move from point A to point B is quite straightforward. Now, let's come to complicated. You see, when it comes to complicated project, complicated project, they are more complex than simple. So that's X is approximately Y. So X is not equal to Y. Now, we know the problem. We have an idea of the solution, but we do not really know exactly how to go from point A to point B. Let me give you an example. An example of this can be even simple ERP implementation, ERP implementation, or not just ERP implementation, maybe any of these ERP or CRM implementation. You see, we know the problem that CRM or ERPs solve, and the solution itself is already in place, because you may choose SAP, or you may choose Oracle, or you may choose Sage, or whatever ERP we have out there, or CRM we have out there. You see, but that project itself is not creating those tools. Those tools already exist. So the project is just all about implementing those tools in a particular organization. So we call such a project complicated, but not that simple. But it's not complex. Why? Because the solution already exists. So we do not need to create the solution. Now, then we have projects that we call complex project. An example of a complex project will be, or let me write the equation first. X is not equal to Y. Now, this is a situation where we know the problem we want to solve, and we have an idea of the solution, but the solution does not exist. For instance, we want to solve a problem of say losing money within an organization. Let me just use that broad problem, and we want to create software solution that will solve the problem. We do not want to use the existing ones, so we want to create our own solution. So because we have an idea of what the solution should be, but there is no existing solution that can solve our problem, so we have to develop our own. And notice the difference between complicated and complex. In complicated, we are implementing an existing solution, and in complex, we are actually developing. We're actually creating something new within your organization or within the industry. Now, an example of complex solution would be you developing an innovative software that does better thing than what already exists in the market. For instance, these AI driven solutions that we have scattered everywhere today. All right. And then the next one is chaotic. Before I go to chaotic, please let me quickly mention this, because this is very fundamental to our discussion today. Number one, when we talk about these complex projects, because this is where we really use Agile most of the time, but that does not mean that Agile principles or practices cannot be used in other situations. But broadly, we use Agile when solving complex problem, that is something that does not have an existing solution, and we have to develop a unique solution to a specific problem. All right, so whenever we talk about complex projects, we call them complex because they have high VUCA. What is VUCA? VUCA is volatility, uncertainty, and complexity, and that's the complex there, complexity and ambiguity. Now, you see, volatility means things can change quite rapidly, just like that. And uncertainty means we are not sure, right? So in many cases, as project managers or within an organization, we find ourselves in situations where we are not that clear about even how to go from point A to point B. And complexity means we have many factors. We have many factors interplaying at the same time. We have, many. So we don't even know which one to attack or which one to solve at a particular time. Then we then say, wow, it's too complex because I have to do, I've got to deal with many things. The ambiguity means unknown. And as you can imagine, if we have many factors interplaying at the same time, then we definitely gonna find ourselves in that ambiguity zone. So these four guys are kind of related. They are all family members, which actually then create this big gap that make it impossible for us to know everything at the beginning of that project. And if we do not know everything at the beginning of the project, it means that we then need to break things down. It means we cannot agree everything at the beginning. We have to go little by little. And this is where Agile can be very, very useful. All right. And then the last one is chaotic. Chaotic is a situation where X is even double, not equal to Y. That is, it's even more complex than the complex itself. And a very good example of chaotic project will be COVID vaccine. That's COVID vaccine. Why? Because it's very, very complex. Okay. There is no existing solution in place. We need to develop COVID vaccine, and the COVID vaccine must be safe and for all people to use without causing or creating another problem. So these are the kind of problems that are projects that are kind of chaotic. And projects like going to Mars or going to Moon, these are chaotic projects. You see, and your organization may not handle such project, but the key thing is the PMO within your organization must know the type of project you generally manage, and then tailor your methodology for managing those projects to the complexity within the project. And don't forget that you cannot know the complexity without at least establishing framework for checking the project complexity, and that will inform whether we use waterfall or we use Agile. And I'm going to be telling you more about waterfall and Agile, as we go. So let me go back to that question. So the question said, how do you decide if Agile is the best methodology for a given project? It depends on the complexity modeling, because Agile broadly is applied to complex projects, not just any project. Okay. All right, I think I've answered that question to some extent. So we would like to understand Agile methodology. I'm going to be talking about Agile methodology as we go as well. So please listen in, and you're going to learn more about Agile. Okay, next. The next set of questions. And I just put this here as well: simple project, complicated project, complex project, and chaotic. And yes, so you can study that. And as you can see, simple project situations where the uncertainty is very, very low. That is, we are sure of many things. Why? Because we've done it in the past, and we even know what is required. So technically we know it, and what is required to solve it, we know it. But when it gets too complicated, is beginning to increase. But most of the time, we use the waterfall for complicated, as you can see. But some complicated projects may use part of Agile, which I'm going to be talking about later. But generally, complex project will definitely use Agile. All right. And yes, and the chaotic is another kettle of fish, which I don't want to get into in this on this session. All right. Then the next set of questions here says, what is Agile? So some people want to know what Agile really is, and what they are used for, and the pains solved, or the problems solved. So I listed your questions here. So somebody said, what is Agile? And somebody said, what is the Agile project about? And I want to learn more on Agile Project Management, and why the sudden shift towards Agile framework, and what problem do Agile Project Management solve, and what could Agile be used for? All right, so I just put all of these questions together because they are very fundamental. So they touch on the definition of Agile. So quickly, I'm gonna talk through a particular slide to at least explain to you a little bit about Agile. But before I get into Agile itself, I will need your attention to just refresh our memory about project management, because we cannot talk about Agile without project management. So Agile is a sub of project itself. All right, so what is a project? A project is a temporary endeavor that has a start and end. Temporary means start and end. And between that start and end, that's point A and point B, within that start and end, we have many phases. Number one, we have the initiating, or some people call it starting up if you are using Prince 2, or if you are using AgilePM, that's DSDM, they call it feasibility, and then from that particular phase, you go you get into planning, and planning to implementation, and implementation to closing. And that's what we call a project, end to end, right? So whether you use Agile or no Agile, a project will always go like this. Okay, so initiating, planning, implementation, and closing. Now, during initiating, we have the statement of work. That's the idea that has been scoped. We come in, and as a project manager, they perform some magic, or they answered those questions. And at the end of answering those questions, then we have a project charter, and the project charter is submitted to the project sponsor. And then if the sponsor is happy with it, then we start to plan the project. And I'm just using an example of an IT project here. Why? Because we are talking about Agile. So a typical IT project will have requirement gathering, to design, to development, and build and test and deploy. So these definitely will be the scope of work in a typical IT project. And we expect you as a project manager to agree the full scope of work, or the time and the cost and some other things that you can find there that I just gave example on. And we must then know when those things must happen. When these scope items must happen. Is it month 1 or month 2 or month 3 and month 4 or whatever, you see. So if you submit this plan, to the sponsor, and the sponsor is happy with it, then we go on and we get into implementation. That is, implement your plan. And when you implement your plan, that's where you begin to get the actual versus your target or your planned. We call this planned, and this is the actual. And when you compare your plan versus your actual, what you're actually doing there is you are monitoring. Monitoring is just comparing your plan and your actual, and to see whether you are on track or you are not on track, whether there are variances. You see, every day as a project manager, whether you use Agile or no Agile, this is done. So this is fundamental project management. And then next is, if you find any negative deviation from your initial plan, then you need to take some corrective action. And we call that controlling. So controlling is not controlling people. So it's all about controlling the deviation within those targets. Now, so we call that monitoring and controlling. So these guys, so we have guys here who are implementing, who are actually doing the work. For instance, who does the requirement gathering? BA, business analyst. Who does the design? Architect, UI, UX, or whatever they call them. And then development, we have FE, BE, backend, front end, developers. Build, we have DevOps guys, and T, we have QA testers, and DevOps again. You see, so we have some technical guys who are getting the job done, while you as a manager, you are monitoring the work. And if there are deviations, like I said, you're going to be raising issues or changes and making sure that at least we remain on track. And when all of these are done, then we get approval to close the project, and we hand over the final product to the customer. And if the customer is happy with it, that's the project itself. That's the end. So we call this project management. Very simple. So Agile or no Agile, this is it. Okay. Now, and we have some methodologies. That handle this very well, end to end. Just giving you as a manager a very good understanding of how to manage a project from beginning to the end. Agile and non-Agile, I'm saying that like 4 times now, you see, and those methodologies are like PMP, Prince 2, right? They give you very solid understanding of project management. Now, when it then comes to knowing the methodology, so please, let's come to the methodologies right now. You see, what we see here, so I'm going to clean this board up so that I will not just complicate things, okay? All right, so let's clean those up. So we call this, as you can see, we call that waterfall. waterfall. Waterfall methodology is a methodology that focuses on delivering the final product all at once. Big bang. So you have to wait to the end before you get the product as a customer or as a business unit. See, so we call that waterfall. And another name for waterfall is predictive. And what is predictive, or why predictive? The word predictive has one keyword, predict. Now, you see, this is only possible if we can predict accurately. We can predict the entire requirement, meaning we know the entire requirement. Because if you do not know the entire requirement, you cannot just hand over everything at the end, right? You don't know, right? So this particular waterfall, as you can see, it looks like waterfall, right? Like water falling. Now, is we must gather the entire requirement before we can start design. We must finish the entire design before we can start developing. We must finish the entire development before we can start to build them together, front and back end, build them together, and then test them and then deploy them. So, but you see, in a simple scenario where we've done something similar in the past, this is possible. But in a situation where we've not done something similar in the past, then this does not work. So there's nothing wrong with waterfall for simple and some complicated project. Not all complicated. Some complicated project and simple project, this will work. Okay, why? We know a lot. Now, but if we then find ourselves in high VUCA environment, volatility is high, uncertainty is high, complexity is high, and ambiguity is high, then that particular framework or methodology can no longer work. Now, watch. What we then have here is the same thing. We have every project, like I said, agile or non-agile, fifth time now. You see, we manage project the same way. Initiate, plan, implement, and close. That's it. You see, so in a situation where the level of VUCA is high, we still start by understanding what we want to do, creating the project charter, getting an approval or getting an agreement with some key stakeholder, sponsor or whatever, or champion. And what they changes here is this requirement, because we don't know. You see, requirement can change. Volatility means it can change just like that. So if we do not know a law at the beginning, it means we're going to start with what we know. And as we know, and as we go, we're going to keep coming back to that requirement. Why? Because it's changing all the time. Why? We don't know what the environment may bring tomorrow. We are not in control of the environment. We are not in control of our customers or clients, so they can ask for new things at any time, and we cannot stop them from asking. They are willing to pay us. So why are we going to stop them from paying? From asking. You see, and the fact that we've agreed something yesterday does not mean that it's going to be needed tomorrow, because the market can move on from whatever discussion we had in the past. So in Agile, or in a complex environment, we're gonna keep revisiting requirements, right? And so these guys, some guys in 2001, they got together finally, 17 of them. I'm gonna be telling you about them later. They got together to say, yes, when we're managing complex solution or development of complex solution, the waterfall will not work, which we normally call SDLC, Software Development Lifecycle. That cannot work the way it is. But what we're still going to use in Agile is still the SDLC. The only thing is we cannot go one round. So what we do is, since we do not know everything, we're going to gather the little requirement we know for now, and we're going to design that, we're going to develop that, and we're going to build that, test that, and deploy that to the customer. And ask the customer for feedback. All right? We need feedback. Feedback. Do you like it? All right? And in the process, the environment may have changed. And the customer may even say, oh, I love this, but if you can change that, add this, add that, take that away. You see, so we're getting feedback, and the feedback we get is going to be used in iterating. The iterating means, again, we're going to go next round. So that means whatever we are developing, we evolve. So we call this evolutionary, iterative, and adaptive, meaning we are adapting to the lessons we are learning real life. This is real life, not just continuing to do things without stopping. You see, without stopping, okay, without stopping. And yes, so I was just waiting for yes. And please, I'm gonna send you a poll right now. Please, I would like you to complete the poll. I would like you to complete that poll, just to tell us where you are from and how you get to know about us. So please, as I'm talking, if you can help us to complete that, that would be great. All right. So in Agile, we deploy something, we show something, even if it's just sketchy, even if it's just on paper. We want to show our customers something so that we can get feedback. Why? Because nobody knows. Please don't forget that this is used mostly for complex solutions, not for every. I mean, yes, the principle generally can be used for everything, but in waterfall, if we've done a calendar again and again and again, or pen again and again and again, like I said at the beginning, then we know what we want actually. So this is fundamentally used for complex products. All right, and based on the feedback we get from that first iteration, we can build more and show those again to the customer and ask for feedback. And based on the feedback again, we can go the next round. So we keep going like this forever. And this is what we call Agile. Agile means we acknowledge that we don't know everything right now, and we cannot wait until we know everything, because if you wait until everything is clear, you will do nothing in life. So we're gonna start with what we know, and as we do and as we go, we're gonna know more. And when we know more and we need to change, we're gonna change. Okay, so this is this is what we call Agile. So Agile, we use quite a number of words when we talk about Agile. We use Agile, meaning Agile means you are fast. Fast means Agile. Just an English word means Agile, fast, and with no encumbrance slowing you down. And for you to be fast, then that means you must do little, because if you carry too many load, you cannot be fast. And that's what we do in Agile. We want to do very little, otherwise you're going to be slowed down by the weight. And so that we can quickly go the first round and then come back and go another round, and that's iterative. And as we go, we learn a lot of lessons, and we are adapting to whatever we are finding in real life environment, in market environment, in the organizational environment. So we are reflecting all of those lessons in whatever we are building. So that means we're not going to build everything all at once. We're going to build incrementally, little by little. And everything is based on the theory of empiricism. What is empiricism? Empiricism is just experimentation, meaning nobody knows. So we are only performing experiment. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, we're not going to boo anybody. We're going to even clap for them and say thank you to them for trying in Agile. Why? Because we are developing complex solutions that nobody has answers to. Okay? All right. And this is just fundamentally what Agile is. So that means Agile does not have closing here. Though it's going to have it one day, but that's a long time to come. You see, those closings, they happen here. Closing. So we have a lot of closings here. Closing 1, closing 2, right? Closing 3, closing to raise to power n. So we have many closings, So we are not just closing all at once. We're going to have a lot of ends. So as work is going on, we've ended some part of the work, and we've even started using some part of that work. So generally or broadly within the project management industry, we have two main methodologies for delivering solution. Number one, we have what we call waterfall, and waterfall is used when the requirement is well known. And we have the Agile, which is the iterative and incremental approach to delivering the project product. And we use that when we are not very clear about the overall requirement from day one, and we do not want to wait until we have everything. And then we have the hybrid. We have the hybrid that uses both. Depending on the project, and it is fundamentally the job of your PMO, project management office, to select which of these methodologies will be useful to your project. Okay, and now let me go back to that question. That question says that what exactly is Agile? You see, I've not really defined Agile. I've only explained a little bit about project management to you. Now, what exactly is Agile? You see, I took this particular diagram from PMBOK, okay? That's the project management body of knowledge from PMI. So this is not mine. And I love the way PMBOK defines Agile. He says Agile is a mindset. See? So fundamentally, it is how you think. So the mindset can be useful in any situation, can be useful in waterfall, can be useful in complex, simple, complicated, or chaotic project. Absolutely. The mindset itself is very useful to anything. What's that mindset? The mindset is the mindset of value, delivering value. Now, let me show you an example. Now, I saw this particular image online, and I love it. Okay, I love it when I talk about Agile. I like using this. Now, somebody that has waterfall mindset will tell you to wait, that I will give you a car at the end of the day. You just wait. So you keep waiting. Alpha, I said, now I have a tire. Oh, Alpha, I said, now I have 2 tires. Alpha, I said, now I have the body. You see, at any point in time, if our money finishes here, let's assume that we run out of money. You see, we have done nothing. We cannot sell this in the market. We cannot sell that in the market. We cannot sell that in the market. Because what we can sell in the market is the car. So there's no car in the world. Nobody will buy any of those. Okay, so somebody with waterfall mindset is always waiting to be perfect. I want to be perfect. Okay, and somebody that has agile mindset is thinking beyond product, because this waterfall mindset thinks about product. Now, the agile mindset thinks about problem and solution. Problem to solution. Now, an agile guy says, I want a car. A waterfall guy says, I want a car. But an agile guy says, I want mobility solution. I want mobility solution. And for now, if all we can do is just a skater, then we do skater. And if the next thing we can do is scooter, then let's do scooter. And then let's do bicycle, let's do bike, and then let's do car. At any point in time, we are delivering value. And we do not want to wait for too long. We want to deliver value right now. We want something that is useful right now, not having to wait a long time. So, first of all, Agile is a value-driven mindset, problem-solution mindset, not fixated on a particular solution or a particular product. Now, that's the first thing that you need to know about Agile. That's one. Then, to make this happen, to drive this value mindset, Agile then suggests, the guys that came up with Agile, they came up with 4 values. These 17 guys in 2001, those 17 guys, they came up with 4 values. So after they met in 2001, and if you want to know more about that, you can attend our Agile classes. I will be able to go further on them. But they came up with what they value. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So they said they value individual and interaction. Why? Because nobody has the answer. We are working in a situation where we have high VUCA. And if we have high VUCA, then that means nobody knows it, okay? And we need people to contribute. We need idea from everybody. And 2, we want to have working software. We want something working. We want a skater. We want a scooter, not a Jeep, all right? We're not a Forerunner. First, you see, because if we have something running, we can learn from that, and that can be useful to the next round, and that can be useful to the next round. So we want something working, first of all, not having to wait until everything is perfect. And we cannot do this alone. We need to do this. Value at the end of the day is defined by the customer. It's going to be paid for by the customer. So we need to do this in collaboration with the customer. And we know things can change. We know the environment can change. We know we live in high VUCA environment whenever we're developing complex product, not implementing an existing solution. Whenever we're developing complex product for a very dynamic society that we have today. You see, so these guys talked about 4 values. Now, if you want to know more about that, because that 4 values takes us more than 1 day to teach in a class. So you can attend our Agile classes and you're going to know them better. But 4 values. And Agile's mindset is then guided by 12 principles. that were listed or agreed by these 17 guys as well. 17 guys. You see, these 17 guys, they came up with these 12 values. So Agile basically is a mindset, right? It's a mindset, number one, that is value driven, that is defined by these 4 values and guided by these 12 principles. Like I said, whatever I've just said right now is very, very loaded. So if you want to know more about that, I would advise you attend our classes. But that is not all about Agile. So it's a mindset that is driven by those values, and the Agile mindset is then manifested in what we do every day. It's manifested in different practices. You see, there are a bunch of practices everywhere in Agile. As you can see, definition of done, point estimate, poker card, backlog, relative estimation, task board, lead time, scrum of scrum, Nico. 3 questions, whatever, persona, story mapping, story splitting, user stories, time box, facilitation. You see, I know many of you will recognize many of these practices. You see, so these practices would then need to be tailored to every organization. So we do not just use all of these in every project, and many organizations then choose some of these and they go further on those, because we cannot just say, oh, you must use all of these. No, that would not be right. That would not be right at all. But there are many practices in Agile. So what exactly is Agile? Let me go back to this definition. So Agile is a mindset defined by values, guided by principles, and manifested through many different practices. So Agile practitioners, like many of you want to be, or you are already, all right, you then need to select the appropriate and relevant practices based on your needs. So not all of these practices, like I said, will not be applicable to every project that you manage. You see, and that's where professionalism comes in. Otherwise, you're just going to say, oh, because the book says we should use all of these, then we're going to use all of them, which is nonsense, right? Okay, so that is what we call Agile. So, which is we expect your organization to be able to help with. I mean, your PMO, and if you need help, please contact me. Absolutely, we're in business, so for money, we can help. And so we've been able to answer what is Agile and what is Agile Project Management all about. Yes, it's all about managing developing complex solutions. And somebody said, I want to learn more about Agile. Yes, I've mentioned some things about Agile and why the sudden shift towards Agile. Now, today, everything is changing. Look at the world, right? 4th industrial revolution. Everything is AI, machine learning. And these are many changes around us. And to manage changes, we only use one vehicle in the world. Only one vehicle, project. And projects can be managed using a predictive approach or an iterative approach like Agile. So for complex ones, like the ones driven by mostly by this 4th industrial revolution, then it's going to need Agile. So there's no way you're going to handle or manage innovation without using Agile. Why? Because you will never know everything one day. So we have to go little by little. And that's how everything in this world had been invented. So nothing came perfect, nothing. All right. Even the cars are changing, lights are changing, even conferencing tools are changing every day. And these are projects and they all use Agile. So yes, that's why there's a sudden shift towards Agile framework. And what problem do Agile problems solve? Like I've tried to explain that when I was talking about the types of project. It solves complex problems where we do not know the entire solution from one day, or how we're going to go from point A to point B from one day, and we want to still make progress. So Agile solves such problems so that we can see progress without having the entire solution all at once. So that's the kind of problems that Agile methodology solves. And what Agile could be used for, it can be used for managing complex solution development project. Yes, generally, but the mindset is useful everywhere. Okay, so so it depends on what we are looking at, whether we're looking at the mindset or we're looking at even the practices. Depending on the type of project that you are using, we can still use some of those agile practices even in the waterfall project. And that's why I said it's not yes or no answer. So we need your PMO, your project management office, to actually develop the way agile needs to be applied and implemented in your organization specifically. So there is no framework in the world that just tells you exactly how it should be done. It is left for every organization to tailor all of these mindset, values, and principles and the practices to your specific organization's needs. All right, so that's the answer to those. And then some people ask agile frameworks. Somebody said, I hope the webinar will cover most agile processes, and I do not really understand the meaning of agile processes. So, but I then assume that this person is talking about different types of frameworks, agile frameworks that we have there. And this question says the major difference between all the agile project management approaches. Okay, and so and that's why I put both together to talk about the agile framework. Now, you see, I spoke about the 17 guys. These 17 guys, these guys. I spoke about them. And if you want to know more about them, you can go to Agile Manifesto, agilemanifesto.org. And when you get to agilemanifesto.org, scroll down and pick on the authors. These are the authors, the authors of the manifesto that we all talk about today when we talk about Agile. Now, you see, these authors, many of them, they had actually developed their own Agile framework before they finally met in 2001. Right? So many of them had developed their own frameworks. So, and when they came up with the manifesto, they agreed the manifesto, the entire idea was not to change the frameworks that people had come up with. So they said, guys, you can continue with your framework provided your framework at least aligns with these particular 4 values. If your framework aligns with the 4 values, then it's fine. It's an agile framework. So there are many agile frameworks out there. I tell you, many created by many of these guys, and then new ones came up. New ones, the new ones, and many new ones in town. But you see, those 17 guys, yes, they created things like Scrum. They created things like DSDM. That's Ari Van Bennekum, one of the 17. They created Crystal Clear. They created that. So there are many of them that had created many agile frameworks. So out there, we have many of them. Now, what then differentiates them? What differentiates these frameworks? You see, I just talked to you about Agile Project Management just now. You see, like I said, project management everywhere is the same. Meaning you must initiate the project, you must plan the project, you must implement your plan, and you must close. Whether you are closing here or you are closing here, all right? Whichever one, but you must close. So project management is the same everywhere in the world. Now, what then differentiates these agile frameworks? Now, there are 2 main categories of agile framework. One category is called the grown up. We call it grown up or matured. Grown up means it covers projects end to end. In fact, some of them cover projects at higher levels, like program level, portfolio level. Right? So we call them extensive. They are very grown up. They cover project management, not just development of product. Then some of them cover development of product, just the implementation phase. That's where they are good. And a very good example of that is Scrum, which is the most popular in the world. So some of them, they focus on just development, and some of them, they focus on project management. That is everything, end to end. So 2 broad categories. One, we have the extensive, that's the matured or grown up, and we have the lightweight. We call them lightweight. So these are mostly used within teams. These are mostly used in managing project overall, managing programs, managing programs, and managing portfolio in Agile environment. Because all of this will still need to be managed in Agile environment. We do not just manage teams in Agile environment. So when I then see people talk about Agile as if it's just all about the team, they are wrong. So Agile cuts across everywhere from the beginning to the end, and we then select the appropriate framework to be used. So when we're talking about Agile at organizational level, we're going to be looking at the grown-up, and when we're talking about Agile in teams, in small teams, then we're going to be talking about things like Scrum or Kanban or extreme programming and so on and so forth. You see, so those are the two categories, but there are many of them out there in the world. All right, and just generally, Agile is all about working with the customers to understand the problem of the customer and what they want, and then putting all of those in the product backlog and agreeing what we need to do right now. That's the sprint backlog, and making sure that we get those things done within a short period of time that we call time box, which can be 1 to 4 weeks. And every day the team will keep meeting, and they can use Kanban board to show what they need to do, which ones are in progress, and which ones have been tested and which ones are done. And when that time is ended, then they deliver whatever they've done and do a demo to the customer, and they can get feedback. That's that feedback loop again, in order to come back and start all over again. And so basically, Agile works like this. No big deal. It can be used in any context. It can be used in your department. It can even be used for your personal goal. You have a lot of things you want to do in life. Then prioritize them. Focus on some few things that you can get done within max 1 month. At least you want to see progress in your own life every month. Okay? And every day you have the list here. You can use Trello. If you do not use any particular Kanban tool, it's free. Trello. So put all your goals together and see how things are going with your goals, and then you can keep delivering, tick, 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 and you can see progress. That's basically what Agile is, but it's more than that. But basically, that's what it is. Like I said, you have the product backlog, and this backlog will continually be fed forever. It doesn't finish. So this is dynamic. This keeps changing. That keeps changing. So that means we then keep prioritizing to know what we need to focus on for now. This is our focus for now. Focus for now. Focus for now. And when we get that focus for now done, then we come back again and pick another focus for now. So that we can keep seeing progress. We don't want to focus on everything. We want to focus on some few things for now. And that's the entire concept of Agile. So that concept itself can be used anywhere. It doesn't really need to be used on a project only. It can be used in your teams. Right? And one of those grown-up, I just want to put the two grown-ups here, the DSDM, that's AgilePM. We are accredited to teach that, and we have many success stories on that. So AgilePM then says, it's beyond this. It's beyond that. This is simple to teach. Because when people know this, they then disturb everybody around town that I know Agile. This is just so simple to learn. Right? The real Agile, for Agile to work, your organization must change its philosophy. They must change their mindset. That mindset must change. If the mindset does not change, Agile will never work. You see, you can learn Scrum in 2 minutes. I tell you, Scrum is too simple. So the fact that you have certification for Scrum does not mean that you are now Agile practitioner. No way. All right. So the key thing is, if mindsets do not change in the organization, you are deceiving yourself. If organizations have not adopted those principles, and those principles are fundamental to making decisions in your organization, Agile will never work. And establishing processes and having process playbooks, if your organization does not have Agile playbooks, I tell you, it will never work. And people having their own roles and responsibilities and training and identifying the competencies that people need to have in order to drive Agile projects, it will never work. So attending Scrum class or DSDM class will never solve Agile problem in organizations. And this is fundamentally this is the fundamental reason Agile had never worked in many organizations. Why? They just want to attend a class and have a certificate, and then that's it, we are now Agile. You see, so DSDM says this is nonsense. People do not really understand how to make Agile work. And all the products, all the documents that need to be produced, because one of those things making around is, in Agile we don't document. It's all nonsense. We document But the only thing is the document evolves. So we do not need to write the entire document one day. So as things grow, the documentation as well will grow. Otherwise, how do you create maintainable and scalable products? If there is no documentation behind them. See, and all the practices. I showed you a list of practices there from Agile Alliance. Agile Alliance website. So we have many things, and again, we shouldn't forget to use our common sense as well. So everything in Agile is commonsensical. There's nothing complex about Agile. It's just common sense, right? And being able and wanting to do, being pragmatic. So DSDM is grown up. It's not like Scrum at all. It's very, very grown up, looking at how organizations can implement Agile in their own environment and make Agile work. And a very big one as well that then covers everything again is SAVE. So you can go to SAVE, scaledagileFramework.org, and learn about SAVE. I took this screenshot from them this morning. That's SAVE. That covers everything, and you can click on any of these and read more. Click on any of these and read more. It's not just about certification. It's about you learning. First of all, it's about you reading and developing yourself and being able to defend whatever you believe about project management, including Agile. So you can visit all of these website to get that. To increase your own understanding of Agile. Next, so some people ask about Agile versus other project management methodologies. So I'm not going to spend too much time here because I've covered some few things about them. So somebody said, is Agile content in the current PM box sufficient to pass the new PMP? Is the Agile content in the PMI box sufficient to pass the new PMP exam? Yes, that one is resounding yes. If you understand everything, it's less than a 100. Just 100 pages, right? That is all you need to know to pass the new PMP exam. Then somebody said Agile versus Prince 2. You see, like I said, Prince 2 and PMP, they are fundamental project management. So it's not just about waterfall, because I see a lot of people saying, oh, Prince 2 and PMP, they are waterfall. Nonsense. Please help me to tell them nonsense, okay? That is not true. You see, Prince 2, PMP, they are just general project management, which can be useful in Agile or waterfall. Okay, because it's just saying that for you to manage a project very well, you need to initiate it, you need to plan it, you need to implement your plan, and you need to close it. That's what Prince 2 and PMP say. So it's not about Agile or PMP, and both of them, they work perfectly well with Agile. Okay, so why Agile? How is it different from PMP and Prince 2? I've just said that. Is there any separate certification for Agile? Yes, many of them. I'm going to be talking about them just in a few minutes. And how is it different or compare with PM certification? Like I said, Prince 2 and PMP, they are general. They give you that broad understanding, very good grounded understanding as to how to manage projects. And then Agile just focuses specifically on Agile practices and values and principles. And then, which first of all requires you to understand project management. So if you just know Agile without knowing project management, you don't know project. So it doesn't work. So Agile is within the context of project. So you cannot just learn Agile itself. So you need to understand project management, and Agile is just one of the approaches. It's one of the approaches we use in managing project. So next question says, I just want to know more about Agile and how it can complement my PMP certification and project management experience. Absolutely. You see, like I said, the world is changing. We're developing new products every day, and the changes will continue. It's not going to slow down anytime soon. So if you are already a PMP or Prince 2 certificate holder, adding Agile to your certification, to your list of certifications will definitely stand you out in the market. Absolutely, I can tell you that. All right, I think that's about it. So like I said, project management, Prince 2 or PMP, fundamentally they look at project management end to end. So Agile is just talking about those Agile approaches where we then, for some project where we need to use Agile practices and values and principles. All right, the next set of questions, they've got to do with certifications and recommended path. So somebody was asking, I'm about to take my PMP exam. Will it help in me taking the Agile exam, I would say no. Just read. If your goal is to take the PMP exam, go for it. Though you need to understand some of these Agile principles and values and practices, and everything you need to know to pass your PMP exam is already in the PIM book. That's the Agile, the Agile guide within the PIM book, which is the last part. That's section 3 of the current PIM book. And do I take the Agile and leave the PMP? No, you need both. Okay. Sorry, I'm not trying to promote myself, but I have many certifications around project management. In fact, if you count them one by one, they are more than 30. So you need more. So having PMP does not mean that you do not need Agile. You see, yes, you're gonna gain some things in a typical Agile course that you wouldn't gain in PMP. Yes, they have many overlaps, but yes, you're gonna need both. So what's the advantage of having both qualification? Yes, one, knowledge and being able to deliver value in any environment you find yourself, and two, your marketability. Okay, if I want to hire project manager, I've got 2 guys who are equally good, and one has only PMP, and one that is equally good has PMP and Agile. I want to take the guy that has Agile because at least he has something that the other guy does not have. Okay, next. So your recommended certification path for Agile, given the various existing certification. Number 1, it depends on the direction your organization is headed. Some organizations have formally adopted Scrum, some have formally adopted DSDM, some have formally adopted SAFe, and so on and so forth. So it depends on your organization. And 2, it depends on your target organizations. So for instance, if you want to work in Google, right? You want to work in Google, or you want to work in Microsoft. You see, these organizations have adopted like Scrum, SAFe, DSDM. Oh yes, so you may want to look at even their expired job advert and look at what they are looking for. So all of those could have been listed in those job descriptions, even if they are expired. Go back to the last 5 years. Project management jobs in Microsoft. Let's assume that you target Microsoft. Then look at their requirement. That will tell you the kind of framework they use in your target organization. So I cannot just sit here and just recommend one. It depends. It depends on your own goal and your career aspirations. Okay, so somebody said, what would you say is the difference between PSM certification and CSM certification, and which one would you recommend? Okay, let me quickly answer that question with this particular slide here. I get this question all the time. What's the difference? You see, these certifications, let me start with the PSM and CSM, and then I added DSDM. We teach DSDM as well. So we teach DSDM and we teach PSM. We don't teach that, all right? But that does not make me biased, and I'll tell you why. Now, who issues any of these certifications? This is Scrum.org, and this one is issued by Scrum Alliance, and that one is issued by Agile Business Consortium. Now, why did we choose PSM? We chose PSM because it was actually started by the Ken Schwaber, who was one of the authors of the Scrum Guide. All right. So, and to us, it makes sense. And it makes sense in terms of technical side, and it makes sense in terms of money. Right? In terms of money, it makes sense because our target market is purely, it's not purely, but we have a very big market target for, Africa is one of our biggest. Now, if we look at Africa and we look at the cost of the certification, the cost of the certification is lower for PSM than CSM. So CSM is just a bunch of guys who, which is great. Don't get me wrong, great group of guys created an institute which is community driven, which is fantastic, but the amount of money to get the accreditation does not match the value. So there's no value they offer over PSM. In fact, we trust PSM more than them, okay, because the entire guide that we use is based on what Ken and Jeff wrote, and that's what they use as well. And when it comes to the number of questions, look at the number of questions, 80 questions. These guys multiple choice as well. 60 minutes, you must finish those 80 questions. This one, no time limit, you can take it for 10 years. Right, 10 years, it doesn't expire. And level of difficulty, this one is medium versus hard. This one, their own questions are very easy. So when it comes to value add, to be honest with you, PSM ticks all our boxes. right? So, but when it comes to marketing, because they charge a lot, they have a lot of money for marketing. They shout a lot. Okay, so, but when it comes to the real value, no way. All right, go do your research. That's it. And the pass score, you can see the pass score is harder to pass. Here is 69 as well. So there is no value. When it comes to value, difference between them, I would go for PSM 10 million times before the CSM, and then I will leave you to find out more. And if you want to know more about the DSDM, that's the Agile PM that has foundational practitioner as well, I've put some of the information on the screen, and we're going to be happy to answer any question you have about any of these certifications outside of this session. If you call us, we will be happy to answer your questions. All right. So somebody said, I would like to know which industry is SAFe Scrum Master commonly in high demand. It's not a particular industry. When you say industry, probably IT, but that does not answer any question. So you need to know your target organization, like I mentioned earlier, and based on your target organization or your aspiration, then you can go back in time, like last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years of their job advert when it comes to project management, and see which of these frameworks they use, and you can start to develop yourself in that area if that is your target. Okay, and then which country is SAFe? Again, I cannot just give you one country. That would be wrong, isn't it? So which country is SAFe in high demand? I don't know. Okay, so it depends on your own goal, it depends on your own aspiration, and yes, if you want, we can take that conversation offline. Yeah, but SAFe, I mean, if you're interested in SAFe, visit Scaled Agile Framework website there and learn more about SAFe. And then somebody asked about career path. You see, in Agile, career path, there are many job titles. Agile Coach, Scrum Master, Scrum Coach, Product Owner, Trainer, Agile Project Manager, Agile Program Manager, Agile Portfolio Manager, whatever. You see, so we have all manner of titles and roles within Agile space. But the question is, which one of them should you take, and what do you want? You see, it all depends on you. So I cannot just sit here and say, oh, I think the best thing you can do is Agile BA. Oh, I think the best you can do is Agile Coach. You see, it depends on your experience. You see, if I understand your competencies, your current competencies, your current experiences, your current trait and driver, why you want this Agile thing, then I can advise you. But to just look at that question and just give you one answer, I'll be wrong. Okay, so if you want to know more about which of these paths will be good for you, then I will advise absolutely to contact us. We're going to be able to then understand which of them, and that's why I call them X. Who is Agile? I don't care. Agile Project Manager, Agile Team Lead, Agile Coach, I don't know. All right, so I need to know your why before I can tell you the X. So please be in touch and let's take that offline. Otherwise, I will not be able to actually advise you on a particular path to take. There are so many follow-on questions that we need to ask you. Otherwise, we will be like a doctor that prescribes drugs without really diagnosing this patient. All right, so some people ask about the cost of certification, training, and exam. So what is the cost of training and exam in Nigeria, and what are the benefits? You see, so the cost and training now depends on which certification you want to take. So on our website, Aribeka website, aribekatraining.com, we have the ones that we teach, the PSM and the Agile PM, and we have our dates there, and I'm going to show you some dates very, very soon as well. So yes, we will be happy to provide you with a specific cost for any of those that you may be interested in. But yes, so please be in touch. And what are the benefits of taking the training and exam, particularly as it applies to you? Now, you see, you can read on your own and take the exam. So there's no reason for actually attending our training. Okay, you don't have to. But one thing I can tell you is, if you attend training with a very experienced trainer who had used and practiced these Agile values, principles, and practices, I can tell you that you're going to gain more value than reading the manual or reading the book on your own. Because the very good trainers who are practitioners themselves, they make Agile come alive to you, and they make it easier for you to implement and use in your day-to-day life, even if you are not working as a project manager or as a scrum master. Okay, so please take note of that. But you can do that on your own. But if you decide to attend training, I will specifically advise you to attend training with me at Aribeka. I take the Agile courses, and it's going to be lovely to have you in my classes. And yes, so I look forward to meeting you. And number 3 here said, do you accept installment? Yes. Be in touch. We're going to explain those to you. And do you give work experience? Not for now, but our work experience courses will start by the 4th quarter, latest by September, so where you can gain experience with us as well. So yes, we have that in the pipeline. And do you give referral to organization for your trained participants? Yes, organizations do ask us to recommend the people that attended classes with us. Yes. And when are you starting your physical classes? We do not intend to go back to physical classes at all, ever again. All right? That does not mean that we will not do it for big organizations that want it, but for our public classes, we believe we have seen a lot of differences between the physical and online. In online, people can go back to the videos again and again and again and rewind, and in the physical class, we must deliver at the pace and the timeline of the class, and sometimes it's not the best. So we do not in any coming month we do not intend to return to physical class soon at all. That's if ever. So how are project managers treated in Nigeria? That's a broad question. I would like to understand that more because I wouldn't know what you meant by how are they treated. So is it advisable to garner all the project management certifications? You see, it depends on your career aspiration. Again, this question, please, I would like you to come back to us, okay, on these questions specifically. I would like to have conversation with you to understand what you actually want out of garnering all the certifications, okay. And so the answer can be yes or no. So it depends on me understanding why. All right, and then some people ask some questions about industries where Agile can apply. You see, like I said, the principles, that problem solution mentality or mindset that I mentioned when we're defining Agile, that is applicable everywhere. And prioritizing your work, focusing on few things so that you can tick them off quickly, would that be applicable in all industries? Yes. So whether operational risk or whether you are in construction or you are in sales or you are in software, you see, it's applicable everywhere. Okay, so in construction, even today, right, there are so much part of construction that we use Agile for. So please, it's applicable to any industry. And if you want to know more about how it applies to you specifically, please be in touch with us. We're going to be able to answer that question. And then the last set of questions here is about organizational implementation. Organizational implementation, which talks about what role. Please, let me just start the new poll. I think I need to, yes, thank you very much. I will end this poll right now. And I think I have one more poll just before we go. Please, I'm starting the course you're interested in. So please help us to answer those questions so that we can get in touch with you. All right, so let me quickly answer these questions. It says, what role does self-interest play in preventing an organization against transitioning from waterfall to Agile? What could be done when the exec is the stakeholder against the move? You see, whenever we try to implement Agile, not just transitioning, I don't like the word transitioning, probably bringing Agile into our project approaches, because there are some projects in your organization that we still need waterfall. There is nothing wrong with waterfall for simple and some complicated project. Please, nothing wrong. Okay, so it's not wrong, because people kind of vilify waterfall and say, waterfall is nonsense. That is pure nonsense as well, right? Waterfall is great. Is the abuse when you wrongly apply waterfall that is the problem. But now back to your question. You see, when we are trying to implement Agile in an organization, there will be lots of barriers. There will be lots of resistance and lack of commitment. So some people we say yes we can, and these people you are talking about, maybe I refuse guy over my dead body guys. Like, no, this will never work here. I want it to be done the way it has always been done. Even when it makes sense to use Agile, I stand against it. You see, some people are like that. So what do we then do to change them? You see, you will need another set of skill, which is beyond Agile. And that's why when I see people feeling that Agile will solve all organizational project problems, no way. That would be another nonsense, okay? So you're going to need another skill called organizational change management. You need organizational change management as to how to convince these stakeholders, powerful stakeholders, whose participation and commitment are needed to get Agile to work in the organization. So it's not as simple as just telling them, it may make sense to you, it doesn't make sense to them for many reasons. And again, you cannot blame them. So your job is to have what it takes to help drive the implementation within your organization, and your PMO will be playing fundamental role in this. Otherwise, it's never going to work. Like I said, getting Agile to work in organization is beyond learning Scrum or reading or getting a certification. No. Okay, so it's about having people on board, having people to say, yes, we can do it. Not maybe people, not I don't know people, not don't want people, not I refuse over my dead body people. You see, and if we do the right thing, you see, we can convert a lot of these guys to yes, we can. But if you do not know how to do it, then we cannot convert them. So you need to learn what we call organizational change management. So Scrum itself will never solve this problem. That is another problem entirely. And this one says as well, this question says, I would just like to learn generally, especially how to tackle issues promptly while using Agile methodology when you are not meeting now, if you are not meeting your sprint deadlines regularly, it means something is wrong. Right. So I would then go back to what I said about DSDM, those processes and those practices and people and your framework within your organization. You see, Agile itself will not solve your problem. You need more than Agile. Like I said here, you're gonna need come on, where are you? Yes, you're gonna need to set up your own process playbook for Agile, because if you're not meeting that, then how are your processes? How are your Agile project management processes orchestrated? I would like to see your playbook and how you agreed to those things that were never delivered. So the answer to that question is a big deal, a very, very big deal, which is not that simple. And Agile in itself, you see, Agile is just a set of lines in a book. You see, for Agile to work, we need to make it work. It's all about people, and it's all about us agreeing some things and some people understanding some things. And if those things do not happen, forget Agile. You see, Agile, it's not as simple as it sounds. It's very, very difficult to get it to work in an organization, and that's why PMO will play a very big role. Okay, this is the last set of questions here. Just general. So somebody said, we'd like to know how effective Agile methodology is. Very, very effective if you implement very well. And I would like to know how to use Jira. You see, how to use Jira, I would say go to Atlassian website and their YouTube channel. There are a lot of videos out there that you can use in learning Jira. And Jira is free. You can sign up for the free account. It's free forever, and play around with it. As you watch the video, play around with it. Then you're going to learn that. And that's the way I learned it myself. So what platform or framework is utilized to demonstrate Agile PM skill? You see, I don't understand that question. Like platform or framework that's used to demonstrate Agile skill, I wouldn't know what that means. So please, I would like you to come back to us on this. I would not like to answer that question because the question is not clear to me. So please come back to us, and then I can provide you with good answers to your question if it's clearer. And somebody said, wanted to become a certified Scrum Master, how can one integrate the learning to actual work? Like I said, you do not need to be a Scrum Master to start practicing Scrum, because Scrum just makes sense. It just says that if you have all things to do, these are all things you need done, and this thing will keep increasing. It's dynamic forever. Okay, so what you need done will keep changing. Then Scrum then says prioritize and get things that you can get done in 1 to 4 weeks. Prioritize so that you know what you are focusing on at any point in time. And over the next 4 weeks, be disciplined not to pick anything from here. Focus on what you say you're gonna do and get them done. Deliver at the end of the day. So this can be applied to your work even if you do not work as a Scrum Master. All right. So these principles are very, very useful to anybody. So then somebody said here, said, I'm a product officer for an online platform. I basically manage relationship to ensure platform is up and running on a daily basis while engaging developers in platform development, testing, upgrade, and version on a monthly and quarterly basis. I'm looking to get a necessary certification to skyrocket my career to an advanced level, wow, and ultimately get better offer and better pay. I need to know the certifications that can be relevant to me considering my current job function. Definitely I will. If I would like to have a better conversation with you on this, but definitely just on top of my list, any of these project management certifications will help you. Scrum Master, at least that will get you started. And if you want to go in depth into project management, I would suggest Prince 2 or PMP. So, but please, let's take this conversation offline and let's really understand what you already have. I would like to know what you already have, and so that I can know what we can take forward there. But please come back to us on this. Let's take it further. All right. And I think that's about it. I think so. Somebody just asked the resources. Is there what are the simplified? What simplified abridged source is available to consider? Introduction to Agile. I put some links here, but one of those places you can go is Agile Alliance. You're gonna find a lot of free video and free resources on Agile Alliance about Agile, and on our website we have very good resources. You can go to scrum.org and agilebusiness.org. That's the DSDM website. Lots of resources out there that can help you, but at least you can start with those links. Okay, and I think that's about it. So these are the courses that we have coming up, and the date, and please do let us know in the poll which of them you would like to take. So let me go through the questions we've asked right now. Let me go through the questions. So somebody asked, would you say a person should get Prince 2 certification before Agile PM? Now, because Agile PM covers project end-to-end, so Agile PM will satisfy that project management fundamental and at the same time Agile. So I wouldn't say that, so you can take Agile PM straight off, or you can do it either way you want. Either way you want, but if you want something that covers project management end-to-end and at the same time covers Agile in-depth, then I will suggest you take Agile PM. Okay, and then somebody said, is it possible for you to share this seminar video with us? Yes, absolutely. We're going to be sending that on Monday morning, and it's going to be on our YouTube channel as well. So somebody, yes, because somebody joined late. Then somebody said, I've joined late because I needed to make an official presentation. Sorry about that. Please, can I get? Yes, absolutely. You can get the recording. Absolutely. And how long should one take to do the practitioner exam after foundation exam? Some people even take it the same week, though I advise people to take it, to give themselves time to read and let it digest it, but it doesn't take long. You can take it like the other week or next week. That's the following week to when you take your foundation, but take your time. You see, the key thing is do it at your pace. So the fact that it works for some people, may not mean that it works for the other people. So please do it at your pace. So somebody said, can somebody help me with the correct spelling of Jira? It's Jira, J-I. That's the way we wrote it, J-I-R-A. It's not Gira, it's Jira. That's Jira, and that's from Atlassian. And somebody said, I have joined late because, yes, we're going to send you the recording. Yes, please. Yes, contact number. Yes, you can contact us. Our contact numbers are on our website, but again, you can find it there as well. That's our contact number on the screen. I thought you were BA training in June. Yes, June. I think I will confirm that, but I was given this date. So yes, I will confirm that to you. So somebody said as well, for an entry level, what's the requirement for PMP? Okay, for an entry level, it's still the same PMP training, but you may be writing the what's it called now, CAPM exam, not the PMP exam, but just to really understand your specific requirement, please, I will advise you call us on this number so that we can really advise you specifically, and not this my generic advice. So if you do Agile PM, you don't need to get Prince. No. You see, it's not as simple as that as well. It depends on your on your requirement and your goal. So please, can we take this particular to know whether you need both or one? I would like to understand your particular situation, because generally, if somebody asks Prince 2 and he asks Agile PM, would there be anything wrong with that? No. Because Agile PM will give you how to manage a project end-to-end and within Agile context. But Prince 2 will give you how to manage project end-to-end, generally managing projects, whether Agile or no Agile. You see, but again, you see, each of them, they focus on some things that then differentiate them at the end of the day. Fundamentally same, but they have their strengths and weaknesses. So one does not answer all the question in the other. So to say yes or no will be very, very difficult until I understand your specific need. Then I will be able to say, for now, take Prince 2, or for now, take Agile PM. But the answer is not as yes or no. But if you're just looking for one, and you are new and you just want one that covers, at least we help you to understand project management end-to-end and at the same time understand Agile, then I would say go for Agile PM. Absolutely. Okay. I think I've been able to answer all the questions raised, and thank you very much for joining us today. Yes, that's about 1.5 hours. We plan to spend 1.5 hours. So that's about all the questions, and I hope you've been able to take something out of this session. And if you have any other question, please send them to us, and we will try our best to answer all your questions. Apart from that, I wish you all the best. And if you're watching the Champions League finals today, yes, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you very much for joining us today, and bye-bye. Okay, just to check the polls. So please, if you have not completed that poll, please go ahead and do so. Okay, please complete the poll. Some people have not done so. So please help us complete that poll so that we can come back to you. We can come back to you specifically on your needs. Okay. Yes, so I think that's about it. So thank you very much, folks, and thank you for attending our session today. And yes, I will see you some other time. Thank you. Bye-bye.